Abandoned at 80. Shocking discovery of hidden fortune changes everything forever. In a small town, the whispers started like a breeze, swirling through the streets, beckoning the curious and the courageous. They spoke of an elderly woman, Agnes, once vibrant and spirited, now a ghost of her former self. Abandoned by family at the age of 80, she faded into the shadows of her overgrown garden, a hermit among thorny roses and tall weeds. Yet, one quiet evening, under the glow of a waning moon, her world was about to change forever. It began with a peculiar sound. A soft, almost mournful groan echoed from the depths of her forgotten attic, a sound that seemed to carry centuries of secrets. The locals claimed Agnes never ventured up there. They said the last time anyone had seen her, she was hunched over a weathered book, its pages yellowed with age, tightly bound with the essence of mystery. What was it? No one could say for sure. But one thing was clear: the attic was a forbidden land that held untold treasures and dangers alike. Then there was the tale of the hidden box. Rumor had it that Agnes's late husband, a reclusive accountant, had left behind something of immense value, a fortune buried deep beneath the floorboards. A click of the lock, a draft of the wind, and a complete upheaval. But no one had dared to find out what lay beneath. Fear of what the past had swallowed kept them at bay. Some said there was a curse attached, a consequence of disturbing the dead. As the night deepened, Agnes felt an unfamiliar tug on her spirit. It pulled her from her chair, guiding her toward the stairs that creaked under her weight. She paused, breaths heavy, heart racing. Could tonight be the night? There was an undeniable energy in the air, a foreboding sense that something was about to break free, beyond her control. Tension rippled through the very fabric of her being as she ascended, the very house groaning along with her, as if it were trying to keep its secrets safe. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As she reached the attic door, it stood ominously ajar, an invitation and a warning all at once. Dust particles danced in the dim light that slipped through the crack. Her fingers brushed the worn handle, a chill raced along her arm, and the anticipation was electric. She hesitated. What if something dangerous awaited within? A flood of emotions threatened to wash over her. Fear, regret, exhilaration bubbled in her chest. What would she find? Would it be riches, or would the past come back to haunt her? Suddenly, she heard a noise from inside, a low hum that vibrated through her bones, like a lullaby wrapped in shadows. Agnes stepped forward, each creak of the floor echoing her growing dread. What haunted the attic? And what of the treasure? Heart thumping, she pushed the door wide open, the air heavy with the sense of dust and aged wood. And as her eyes adjusted to the dim light, something caught her attention: an old trunk covered in cobwebs, a faded symbol etched into its surface, glimmering under the moonlight. What mysteries lurked within? What fortune or tragedy lay just a breath away? Shivers cascaded down her spine, and she reached for the lid, fingers trembling with anticipation, knowing that tonight, her life would never be the same. The trunk clicked softly as Agnes lifted the heavy lid, the sound echoing ominously in the stillness of the attic. Breathing heavily, she steadied herself, peering into the darkness within. It felt like opening a time capsule, every secret of her husband's life whispering just out of reach. The musty scent of aged paper wafted up, wrapping around her like a forgotten memory. Inside lay a jumbled mess of items: old coins, brittle letters, and a glass jar filled with buttons of every shape and color. But beneath them, glistening like treasure in a pirate's hoard, was a velvet pouch. Her heart raced. Is this what they spoke of? The legends of hidden riches? With trembling hands, she grabbed the pouch, anticipation coursing through her veins. As she untied the golden string, a handful of glittering jewels tumbled out, bouncing off the wooden trunk. Diamonds, rubies, emeralds, each reflecting the faint moonlight, seemed to promise a life of comfort, a life once lost. But as she cradled them in her palm, a sudden chill gripped her spirit. The weight of the past pressed on her, memories flashing in a dizzying array. What did this wealth truly represent? Agnes's fingers grazed the brittle letters again. She pulled one out, opening its fragile folds with care. The familiar handwriting belonged to her husband. The words flowed like a river of emotion, love, regret, secrets unconfessed. Her eyes widened as she traced each line, the ink imbued with the sorrow of years gone by. To my dear Agnes. It started, and her heart tightened. If you are reading this, then I am long gone. But know this. I've held many secrets from you. Secrets that could change everything. Our love has shielded you from the darkness of my life. But it is time you knew. There are forces at play, shadows that twist and turn in the light. The letter continued, but confusion clouded her thoughts. What darkness? Suddenly, a loud thud reverberated through the attic, jolting her out of her reverie. The air turned cold, and an oppressive weight settled around her. Panic set in. She quickly shoved the jewels back into the bag, shoving it beneath the other clutter as she turned, heart racing against her chest. She was not alone. Footsteps echoed from the staircase below, heavy and deliberate. Someone was coming. Who could it be at this hour? Her mind raced. The local legends whispered of not only treasures hidden in the attics of the old, but of trespassers drawn by gold, hungry for its energy, or worse, attracted by a curse. She felt the pulse of danger flicker through her, igniting her instincts. Agnes. A voice called, deep and sinister, reverberating uncomfortably through the silence. You must return what is not yours. It doesn't belong to you. Her breath hitched in her throat. She recognized that voice, a man from town, one whose presence brought unease. Had he come for the treasures? The tension surged, thick and suffocating, and dread swallowed her, turning the thrill of discovery into sheer panic. What did he know? Agnes's world spun, darkness closing in as she weighed her options. To confront him or to hide. In that moment, a decision loomed heavy. The greatest discovery of her life had transformed into the darkest nightmare. She clasped the pouch tightly against her chest, locking eyes with the attic door. Would she face this stranger? Would she protect her newfound wealth? Or would it bind her to a fate she never anticipated? The unknown awaited, feverish and vile, as shadows danced across the walls. Time felt suspended, and Agnes was left to wonder, could her life ever truly be normal again? With a harrowing determination, she prepared to embrace the horrors lurking just beyond the door. But would she be strong enough to confront the truth surrounding the hidden fortune? As the footsteps grew closer, darkness loomed just outside, waiting for her answer. Agnes took a shaky breath, her heart hammering like a drum. The attic was cloaked in shadows as she strained to hear the footsteps inching up the staircase, each step dripping with a sinister intent. Her thoughts whirred. Was she ready to face him? Would he claim what she had discovered? The door creaked open, and the silhouette of the man stood in the doorway, backlit by the dim glow of a hallway lamp. His features were obscured, but a low, menacing chuckle echoed in the stale air. You had to dig for it, didn't you? His voice dripped with sarcasm, as if he found her endeavor entertaining. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but the trunk pulled her in like a magnet. A single thought thudded in her mind: protect the jewels. They felt like a lifeline, an escape from the mundane life she had lived for so long. Who are you? She croaked, forcing her voice to confront the lurking fear. What do you want? The man stepped into the attic, the door creaking ominously behind him. You already know, Agnes. This is a family affair, and now you're caught in the web of it. He moved closer, the shadows condensing around him like a cloak. She gripped the pouch tighter, feeling the cool, hard surfaces of the gems pressing against her skin. Get away from me, Agnes shouted, her voice cracking with resolve. He laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down her spine. Bravery will only get you so far. You don't understand the depth of what you've stumbled upon. His eyes glinted with a predatory gleam. These treasures are not merely stones. They are curse left behind by those who knew too much. What curse could possibly follow something so beautiful? The legends whispered in the back of her mind flared with danger and intrigue. Her breath caught as the truth loomed larger. The letters spoke of darkness, and now he was here to draw her deeper. "Tell me about the curse," she demanded, her curiosity battling her rising fear. "Those who bear that wealth carry its weight. Each jewel claims its price. You think riches will bring you comfort, but their history is steeped in loss." He paused, lips twisting in a smirk. "You'll soon learn. It's time to return what doesn't belong to you." Fury flooded her veins, igniting a spark within. "I will not be intimidated." She took a step forward, challenging his presence despite the gnawing unease creeping into her thoughts. He stepped closer, just a breath away, and she could smell the old leather and decay that clung to him. "You're in over your head, Agnes. The shadows will come for you, they're already here." His voice dropped to a whisper. "They wait for you to falter." The air crackled with tension as reality twisted around her like a choking vine. Agnes could sense an impending climax. This was not just about gems. It was about her soul, a clash of wills. "Leave now," she ordered, the ember of courage inside her glowing brighter. He leaned back slightly, surprise flickering across his face before it turned to amusement. "Very well, but remember, Agnes, there is no escape from the darkness your husband hid away." With that, he stepped backward, melting into the shadows by the attic door before vanishing just as swiftly, like a nightmare dissipating with the dawn. Agnes stood frozen, her heart racing. The silence returned, heavy and oppressive, but she could feel the air shift, like a storm brewing just outside her window. A sense of dread twisted in her gut. She hadn't seen the last of him. Was she really ready to confront the secrets hidden within the walls of her life? Had she simply started a chain of events that would unravel everything she'd ever known? As she gathered her thoughts, a chilling breeze swept through the attic, and in its wake, she noticed a flicker of movement at the edge of her vision. Clenching her fists, prepared for what lay ahead, Agnes turned to face the darkness once more, her determination shaking but resolute. The journey was just beginning. But would she be strong enough to unearth the truth that her husband so desperately tried to protect? The night held whispers, and she was determined to listen. The silence was deafening, wrapping itself around Agnes like a suffocating shroud. She clutched the pouch tightly, her palms slick against the cool fabric. Was that just dust she felt settle on her skin, or something much more sinister? A sense of being watched pricked at her instincts, the memories of his chilling laugh replaying in her mind like ghostly echoes. Suddenly, she noticed a flicker of movement amidst the shadows. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribcage with each rapid beat. She squinted into the darkness. A chill crept along her spine. "Hello?" she ventured, her voice sounding small and fragile. No response. Only the sound of silence lingered, unnervingly thick. Gathering every ounce of courage, Agnes stepped away from the trunk, inching toward the attic door where he had just vanished. The floor creaked beneath her weight, each sound amplified in the tense atmosphere. Was he still lurking out there, waiting for her to let her guard down? She had to know. As she reached the threshold, the temperature dropped, a cold breath of air brushing past her skin, making her shudder. She hesitated, debating whether to turn back. That trunk, that tantalizing but terrifying treasure, drew her attention again. What if the answers lay hidden within? What if the jewels held the key to her husband's secrets and to the man who just threatened her? She backed away from the door and seized the trunk, her fingers fumbling at the latch. The rusted metal groaned as she wrestled it open, revealing an array of treasures glimmering dully beneath a thick layer of dust. But it wasn't just riches that filled the chest. There were old letters, yellowed with age. Their surfaces were marred with smudges, whispers of a long-forgotten past reaching out to her like a hand from the grave. She started to sift through the items, her heart racing with fear and anticipation. What hidden truths did these artifacts promise? As she unfolded the first letter, her hands trembled with trepidation. Words danced across the page, weaving a tale of family betrayal and despair. "Beware the cost of wealth," it warned, falling from her grasp like a stone. Footsteps echoed through the house, heavy and deliberate. Panic surged through her. Had he returned? Had he truly left her alone? With a pounding heart, Agnes hastily stuffed the letter back into her pocket and focused on the jewels that gleamed with an unnatural luster. Each one seemed alive, pulsing as if they bore their own heartbeat. She plucked a deep red stone from its resting place, its surface glistening like a drop of blood. Mine, she whispered, as if claiming it would grant her power against the darkness that threatened. But just as quickly, doubt gnawed at her. What if it's all a trap? A shattering sound jolted her from her thoughts. The attic window had shattered into a shower of glass, sending shards cascading across the floor. She yelped, instinctively dropping the jewel, the loud crash echoing alarmingly through her senses. "Agnes!" A fierce voice called out from below. It wasn't he, the man from the shadows. It was her husband, his voice threaded with urgency and panic. "Get down here." But an invisible veil fell over her, trapping her there. "I can't," she breathed, feeling the weight of the gems press against her, mingling with her fear. Would she be trapped here, forever spiraling into a dark mystery she didn't fully understand? The once comforting feeling of the gems now turned cold, a warning clawing at her gut. Now, darkness choked the impressions of light out. What lay on the other side, her fate, or something worse? She had to choose. Face the truth with all its terrifying implications, or flee back into the ignorance she had held before. Just as she backpedaled toward the door, a figure loomed in the frame, illuminated by the dim light. It was him again, grinning with sinister glee. "Too late to run, Agnes," he taunted. "You opened Pandora's box." Her heart stopped. What had she done? Waves of dread crashed over her. She had stirred something dark, and there was no going back. "Stop!" she screamed, yet the echo of her voice seemed to linger in the attic, blending with another sound, a growl from the shadows that sent chills racing across her skin. What had she awakened in those jeweled depths? Would she find the courage to confront this horrifying world? The true battle was just beginning, and the darkness was hungry. As the figure advanced, Agnes could sense the grip of destiny tightening around her, squeezing the breath from her lungs. She had to act, but what would be her next move? Agnes's breath quickened, and the shadows seemed to shift closer, clinging to her like a thick fog. The man's smile deepened, revealing teeth that glimmered like the jewels in her trembling hands. "You've disturbed things that were meant to stay buried." His voice was serpentine, sliding through the attic with an unsettling familiarity. She backed against the wall, her pulse thundering in her ears. The growl from the darkness coiled tightly around her, a visceral reminder that escape might not be an option. She was trapped, cornered by both the man and the shadows, whispering promises of wealth, yet threatening her very existence. "What do you want?" she demanded, though her voice quivered. The weight of the red stone felt heavier now, like a warning against the very fabric of her reality. His laughter echoed, menacing and cold, sending chills cascading down her spine. "You should have known better than to dig in the past, Agnes. All this treasure, it comes with a price." He gestured toward the trunk, an almost mocking reverence in his eyes. "You have no idea what those jewels can unleash." Dread pooled in her gut. Was the allure of riches worth the cost? Her fingers brushed over the other gems, each one whispering secrets that danced tantalizingly at the edge of her consciousness. She lifted another stone, a gleaming emerald, its color like the deepest forest, its depths swirling with shadows. Something about it resonated within her, urging her to take control. "Stop!" She hadn't meant to shout, but the command burst forth, fueled by desperation. "I don't care about the riches. I just want to understand. Why are you here?" The figure paused, arching a brow. "Understand? Oh, my dear Agnes. Understanding often reveals more than one wishes to know." His voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. "You're part of this now. You'll soon find that these jewels don't just shine, they bind. I'll destroy them if I must," she vowed, clenched fists trembling at her side. If there was one thing she could control, it was her resolve. "I won't let you or this darkness take anything from me." He chuckled lightly, a sound dripping with disdain. "You think you can wield such power? The fates are not so easily negotiated with. And to destroy, well, that could have dire consequences for you, dear Agnes." Suddenly, the growling intensified, and the shadows writhed, almost like they had a life of their own. The room felt claustrophobic, as if the very air conspired against her. "What are you hiding?" she demanded, the words slipping through her clenched teeth. "Hidden? Oh, they're not hidden, not at all. They're waiting." His grin turned wicked. "For you." As Agnes's heart raced, a harsh wind barreled through the attic, whipping around her like a tempest. The trunks rattled as the shadows seemed to pull back, revealing an unexpected sight, a doorway she had never noticed. Light spilled through, casting a glow that sliced through encroaching darkness. "Beyond that door lies the truth," he said, eyes glinting with excitement. "Will you dare to step through? Or will you succumb to despair?" Agnes hesitated, feet rooted to the spot. What lay on the other side? Could she truly brave the unknown that awaited her? The growl morphed into a roar, and the shadows surged forward, hungry for her hesitation. In that moment of uncertainty, Agnes realized that the stakes had transcended simple treasures. It was about unearthing her own courage, about reclaiming her life from the brink of chaos. With a rush of defiance, she lunged toward the doorway, driven by the need to confront whatever awaited beyond. Yet as she closed her fingers around the handle, a scream erupted, piercing the heaviness that enveloped her. What awaited her in the light? And who would she become when the shadows met their reckoning? Each heartbeat pounded with urgency. There was no turning back now. The handle felt cold under Agnes's grip, sending a shock of adrenaline racing through her veins. With a determined twist, she pushed the door open, and bright light flooded the room, chasing away the shadows clinging to her. For a brief heartbeat, everything stood still. What lay beyond was nothing like the attic. It was a vast, open chamber. The walls shimmered with strange symbols, intricate carvings that seemed to pulse with the energy of the gemstones she had unearthed. It was as if the very stones had been waiting for her, ready to unveil secrets long kept. "Welcome," the man said, his voice echoing in the hollow space, wrapping around her like an unwanted embrace. "You've chosen wisely." Agnes stepped inside, heart pounding. The air shifted, thick with anticipation. "What is this place?" she breathed, eyes darting around, hunting for something familiar, something beyond the oppressive weight of his presence. "It's a sanctum," he replied, leaning casually against the entrance, "where wealth is merely a prelude to power. But this power, it must be wielded wisely, lest it consume you." With trepidation, Agnes took a few tentative steps forward, the energy in the room crackling around her. She could feel the gems vibrating in her pocket as though they were alive, urging her to dive deeper. Each step brought her closer to the center of this mysterious space, where an ornate pedestal stood. Atop it lay a radiant crown, adorned with jewels that sparkled like stars in a velvet night sky, waiting for her to claim it. "Do you see it?" he whispered, a hint of manic excitement in his voice. "That is the culmination of your endeavors. But with it come choices, lives changed, destinies woven into the fabric of the world." Her breath caught. The promise of longevity and influence danced just out of reach. But the story she had chased turned treacherous, whispering warnings of what price she might pay. "And if I refuse?" she said, determination flaring inside her. A pause stretched thick with uncertainty. "Refusal has consequences, dear Agnes. The jewels already possess a claim over your fate. Demands that must be met." He stepped forward, the shadows creeping back, dark tendrils reaching for her. They brushed against her skin, sending shivers coursing through her. "Will you take up the crown? Or will you let it rot in the past?" Fear crawled in her throat, tight like a noose. Agnes could feel the weight of choice pressing down on her. The allure of power was intoxicating, promising freedom from the very shadows that sought to bind her. "What happens if I take it?" she managed to squeeze out, her heart racing with dread. "The world shifts. The crown will awaken forces you can't comprehend. You will lose pieces of yourself along the way, but you will also gain infinite potential. It's a trade-off between what you are and what you could be." His grin morphed into something more sinister. "The hunger of shadows can be eternal." A bead of sweat rolled down her temple as she regarded the crown. The air grew heavier with the weight of decisions yet to be made. Each gem within it sang a call to her blood, resonating with a pull she couldn't ignore. Would stepping into the light liberate her from fear, or would she unleash a darkness far worse? "How do I know I want to be consumed?" she asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty. His laughter echoed softly, dissonant. "Ah, that is the question, isn't it? Only one way to find out." Agnes stood at the precipice, battling with herself. History tugged at her, the past entwined with her future. Light and dark seemed to collide, and she was the fulcrum where they met. What would she sacrifice for power? And would the choice ultimately destroy her? With resolve tightening her chest, she reached out. The moment before her fingers touched the crown, a piercing scream erupted from the shadows behind her, shattering the silence. What awaited her if she took that step? If she unlocked the crown's secret, would she plunge into a fate far worse than despair? The scream hung in the air, sharp and chilling, cutting through the tension like a knife. Agnes whirled around, her heart racing as she searched the corners of the chamber for the source. The man had shifted, his grin fading into a mask of annoyance, irritation boiling in the depths of his eyes. "Stay focused," he commanded, his voice low and urgent. "That sound, it signifies the awakening of what lies beyond these walls. The choice is yours, but don't be swayed by fleeting shadows." Agnes's breath was shallow, each inhale laced with panic. She didn't want to look back, terrified of what she would see. The cavernous sanctum felt like it was pulsating with life, almost as if the stones themselves were alive and feeding on her fear. Fear was what had led her to this moment, wasn't it? Fear of failing, fear of being ordinary, and now, fear of the unknown. She turned back to the crown. No matter how heavy her dread, the allure of its brilliance was undeniable. Every inch of her trembled as she raised her hand, fingers hovering over the crown's intricate surface, begging for the touch of her skin. Then, another scream echoed, this one full of despair. It was a sound that clawed at Agnes's soul, pulling her deeper into the chasm of doubt. "What if I can't control it?" she whispered, her voice quivering. "What if it consumes me?" The man stepped closer, shadows swirling around him. "Then you join the ranks of the vanquished," he said softly, almost tenderly. "But should you succeed? Oh, the power you would wield. Each gem tailored to your essence, fueling your rise to greatness." For a heartbeat, the world narrowed around her decision. Memories swirled like autumn leaves in a storm her childhood, the scent of her mother's cooking, the warm laughter of friends. Would claiming the crown mean leaving all of that behind? The cost of ambition weighed heavier than the promise of power. Then, with a shattering crack, the ground trembled beneath her feet. Dust rained down from the ceiling, shadows flickered violently against the walls, and the man's eyes widened in fear. "It's too late," he gasped. "You must decide now." Agnes's fingers brushed against the crown's cold surface, jolting her with raw energy. The gems pulsated, vibrating in sync with her heartbeat. It felt like a heartbeat of its own, wild, chaotic. "I'm ready," she stated, surprising herself with her conviction. "Show me my destiny." As her fingers made contact with the crown, a shockwave rippled through the chamber. The symbols on the walls flared to life, illuminating her skin with an ethereal glow. The shadows lunged as if to claim her, but now they felt more like allies than foes. "Wield it wisely," the man shouted, desperation lacing his voice as he reached out. And then, it happened. A blinding light enveloped her, a cyclone of color and sound sweeping her away. Agnes felt her soul splintering, fragments of herself being entwined with the crown's magic as whispers filled her mind, echoing with secrets and untold stories. Each pulse of the crown filled her with knowledge, elevating her, but threatening to consume the very essence of who she was. Each second stretched out like an eternity. Was this power worth it? As the last remnants of her old life faded into the light, she felt the weight of unimaginable strength surging through her. But there was an ominous undertone, a haunting whisper in the back of her mind warning of violent consequences. Power doesn't come without a price, she thought, grappling with her own fear and exhilaration. Would she be strong enough to control what she had unleashed? Suddenly, a vision flashed before her, an image of a city in flames, shadows creeping through the streets. And at the center of it all, a figure watching and waiting. What had she stumbled into? As the light faded, leaving her breathless, a chilling realization settled apprehensively within her heart. There was no turning back. But who else would pay the price for her newfound power? What darkness had she just awakened? Agnes blinked, disoriented as her surroundings gradually came into focus. The chamber now pulsed with an unsettling energy, the flickering symbols seeming to reach out toward her like fingers grasping for warmth. The man had retreated slightly, his demeanor shifting from urgency to trepidation. His once confident stance was riddled with an anxious tension that only deepened the churning storm within her. "Can you feel it?" he urged, his voice a frantic whisper. "The power, it's alive now. Protect it." or it will consume you whole. Every breath she took felt heavy, laden with an unfamiliar weight. She could still sense the remnants of energy coursing through her veins, electrifying yet terrifying, as if the universe itself was whispering secrets meant only for her. But with each pulse, the vision of the burning city replayed in her mind, an ominous prophecy she couldn't shake. "Tell me, what is happening?" she managed to stammer, striving to regain control. The glow around her began to flicker, pulsing in rhythm with her racing heart. The man stepped closer, shadow pooling around him. "You've awakened something ancient, Agnes. Something hungry." The shadows, they're not just formless, their desires are more corporeal, more lethal than you understand. Agnes's chest tightened. Her newfound power felt like a ride on a galloping horse, wild and exhilarating, yet she feared she would be thrown off at any moment. The voice in her mind urged her to connect deeper, to embrace the chaos swirling around her. But some instinct fought against it, pushing her to stay grounded. "Do you know what it looks like?" she asked, her voice shaking as she recalled her vision of the city of flame. "What I've unleashed." The man's silence was deafening, thick with dread. He finally caught her gaze, his eyes dark pools shimmering with something like pain. "The shadows will feast on despair. They'll twist your power if you let them, turning friend against friend, even family. If you don't learn to wield it, you risk everything." Everything. The word echoed harshly in her mind. "But what if I can control it?" she countered, defiance bubbling in her tone. "What if I can save them instead?" He shook his head slowly, the weight of his disapproval palpable. "You're thinking with your heart, not your head. Power is a perilous game. One misstep." "Wait," she interrupted, her instincts screaming at her as a flicker of movement caught her eye. Shadows twisted in fluid motion along the edges of the chamber, coalescing into something more coherent. Her pulse quickened, a sinister chill creeping up her spine as the dark shapes began taking form, emerging from the crevices of her newfound reality. With a surge of adrenaline, Agnes sought to summon the energy she felt within her. What would happen if she pushed back? What if she could transform the dark impulses into light? Her spirit lifted as she found her footing, determination flooding her veins. She stepped forward, defiant and ready to face the emerging entities. "If they want a battle, we'll give them one," she declared, drawing on the crown's energy with a fierce resolve. But the shadows only laughed, cold and mocking, as they fully materialized into grotesque figures. Glimmering eyes hold an insatiable hunger. "You just don't understand," one of them whispered, its voice slithering into her mind. "You're the vessel we've been waiting for. Let us in." Just as fear began to grip her anew, she sensed an ancient presence within the shadows, a darker power longing to claim her, to twist her into something she feared. Each glint from the crown, once a symbol of hope, now felt like a target on her back. That Agnes's heart raced. Could she stand firm against these beasts? Would the power truly protect her, or was it already betraying her? In that moment, an unsettling truth struck her. The cost wasn't just her ambition, it threatened to unravel the very fabric of her reality. The turning point drew nearer, and as shadows lunged, she braced for what was to come. What kind of war had she invited into her life? Could she fight and win, or was she already doomed? Agnes felt the shadows rushing toward her, a tide of darkness threatening to engulf her whole. She summoned the energy within her, drawing it forth as if it were a lifeline, and to her surprise, light flickered from the crown atop her head. "Get back!" she shouted, raising her hands, feeling the energy ripple through her fingers. It didn't just feel good, it felt primal. The shadows hesitated, their laughter faltering as they recoiled from the shimmering light. "You think you can repel us with weak sparks?" A figure hissed, its form shifting from grotesque to alluring, trying to seduce her. "Your power, dear vessel, belongs to us. We will guide you." With a fierce shake of her head, Agnes gripped her vision of the burning city tightly. That was not the future she wanted. "I don't need you," she cried, forcing her will into the light. As the brilliance intensified, she felt it surging through her veins. The shadows darted back, chattering amongst themselves. Their icy whispers turned into a cacophony of malevolent thoughts, all trying to worm into her mind. "You don't know what you're doing. We hold the keys to true power. Embrace us." The man lurked at the edge of the chamber, eyes wide with fear. "Agnes, don't listen." They'll twist your mind. It's a trap. But even as knowledge slipped through her fingers, doubt nipped at her heels. Could she truly trust herself? Power like this, how was she to control it? One shadow darted close, reaching out with twisted fingers, brushing against her skin. A jolt of ice shot through her, a whispered promise filling her mind. Join us. Together, we'll reshape the world. No more pain. No more suffering. Agnes clenched her jaw, feeling the darkness closing in, the weight of her decision pressing down like a vice. I want to become a pawn for you, she screamed, pushing the light outward even more fiercely. A powerful wave erupted from her, impacting the shadows with a force that sent them reeling. The laughter now turned to screams of agony as the light battered against their forms. For a moment, relief surged. She had pushed them back, felt the pang of control. But it was short-lived. The shadows regrouped, morphing into swirling masses laced with rage. You think you can deny us? We are legion. We are ancient cries of vengeance and despair. Their voices twisted through her, each word sending chills surging through her body. She could feel their anger rising, a storm ready to erupt. Panic swelled within her. Could she really fight off the shadows? The man took a step forward, urgency etched on his features. Agnes, you're stronger than you think. Channel your will. Focus on what you want to protect. The fleeting thought of her family flickered through her mind. Their laughter, their warmth. An image as vivid as her own heartbeat became a beacon in the chaos swirling around her. Summoning all her inner strength, Agnes shouted, I fight for them. I fight for the light. Suddenly, the energies collided, light meeting darkness in a dazzling eruption. For a heartbeat, everything froze. Agnes could feel her heart racing, the chaos suspended, her mind racing with every unfulfilled promise and yearning wish. Then, the explosion resonated. The shadows shrieked in unison, twisting and writhing as her brilliance flared, scattering them like ashes in the wind. The chamber trembled, the symbols blazing with a renewed vigor, and for a moment, it felt like victory was within reach, but victory came at a price. As the force of her power dissipated, fatigue washed over her like a heavy shroud. She stumbled back, gasping for breath, the aftermath ringing in her ears. What have you done? The man breathed, a mix of horror and awe flickering across his face. Agnes struggled to find her voice, her mind racing. Had she truly banished the shadows? Or merely delayed the inevitable? In the quiet that followed, her resolve started to waver. The shadows hadn't left, they lingered at the edges, ready to pounce again. And as she stood in the aftermath, the weight of her choices pressed heavily upon her. The question loomed, what other forces had she awakened with her defiance? And what did it mean for everyone she loved? As darkness swirled back in the corners, she felt the pulse of danger, a reminder that the shadows were still very much alive. Would she ever escape their grip? Agnes clutched her chest, heart racing with a mixture of triumph and terror. She had faced the darkness head-on, but now, standing in the aftermath, the victory felt hollow. The shadows regrouping in the corners reminded her of the uncertainty that loomed. The crown pulsed atop her head, a constant reminder of the weight of power and the burden of choice. What have I unleashed? She murmured, fear creeping back into her heart like an old friend. The man stepped forward, his previous arrogance gone, replaced by a blend of admiration and caution. You've proven yourself, he said, voice steady, though it trembled with the urgency of warning. But this is only the beginning. The shadows are still hungry. They will test you again. They will return driven by their desire to reclaim what you've taken. Agnes's breath hitched in her throat. She thought that light would ward off the shadows once and for all. I thought I could control it. I thought I could end it. Despair threatened to crush her. The glimmering crown felt both magnificent and malign, a cruel twist of fate tangled with her destiny. No, 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 he said, shaking his head, urgency rising again. Power doesn't yield to will alone. It must be commanded. You must learn to strike a balance, to use the light against the dark without letting the lure consume you. Agnes's mind raced as she reflected on what he said. Did such a balance even exist? With the jewel-encrusted crown giving her devastating strength, could she withstand the temptation? What if I don't want this? She whispered, each word a silent plea for reprieve, but he shook his head again, resolve tightening his features. You've awakened an ancient force. It doesn't work that way, Agnes. Refusing its power now would just give the shadows an advantage. They won't rest until they pull you into their depths. Gathering her courage, she raised her chin. Then I'll learn. I won't let them control me. Her jaw clenched, a swirl of defiance igniting within her. The shadows might lash out, but she wouldn't allow them to extinguish the flicker of hope she had ignited. She would face the darkness she had to. Within moments, another quake reverberated through the chamber, the shadows shifting and writhing as if testing their strength against her newfound resolve. Agnes sensed the brewing storm, but beneath the panic tingling in her skin, something else ignited: clarity. She had been a victim for too long, hiding behind walls of weariness and regret. No more. Becoming familiar with a weapon is key too, the man encouraged, eyeing the crown with what almost felt like respect. What will you do, Agnes? Will you master it, or let it master you? With a deep breath, she straightened, emboldened by the gravity of her choice. I will master it. The words echoed firmly in the air, resonating with a sense of fresh purpose. If acknowledging her conviction, the shadows shifted, their cries morphing into hushed whispers, taunting but less aggressive now. Agnes could almost feel their curiosity, intrigued yet cautious. The remnants of her fears began morphing into something else, a strange alliance forming within her. Very well, the man said, watching her closely as though judging her every move. Let us begin. Focus your will. Feel the light within you. Let it flow, and ground yourself. Agnes recalled the warmth she felt earlier. Closing her eyes, she reached deep into herself, channeling the blazing energy she now harbored. She envisioned the light swirling and glowing inside her, radiating outward like ripples dancing in water. Her breath steadied, recalling the laughter of her family, the moments of love and solace that once enveloped her. Each heartbeat pulsed with clarity, lighting paths between memories. She could wield this. She could reshape it. But the shadows were aware. They coiled and lunged, wrapping around her, trying to snuff out her flame with the tendrils of despair. Agnes opened her eyes, empowered and determined, their darkness thrusting against her like a tidal wave. Get back, she shouted, thrusting her hands outward. The light erupted in reaction, bursting forth like a supernova, illuminating every nook, pushing back against their encroachment. You have no claim here. I deserve to stand in the light. What surprised her most was their screeching retreat. The shadows shrank back, screeching with furious confusion. She was awakening something in herself that was fierce and raw, something they feared. And as she continued to expand her light, a new vision arose, breaking through the intensity. The burning city again, but now brighter and more vibrant, mottled with hues of reds and golds. I will protect this place. I will shield those I love. I can do this. The shadows began to retreat into the corners, but an echo whispered within them a promise that they would return. With a final surge of energy, Agnes embraced the newfound control, scattering the shadows like leaves caught in a windstorm. She held fast to the knowledge that this was only a moment, a step along the path of her journey. The room quieted, shadows receding but still pulsing around the edges, a reminder of the power she had to keep at bay. Victory was not a single fight, but a lingering hand to grasp. She turned to the man, who regarded her with curiosity edged with approval. Now you're ready to begin, he said, the tension in his posture easing as the dark ambience began to dissolve, and Agnes stepped forward, heart brimming with a newfound determination. She was more than abandoned. She was powerful. She was alive. Shadows still lingered, but now their threats felt like old stories, echoes yet to unfold. They would return, yes, but so would she. She would be ready, and she would no longer shy away. This was her journey. This was her destiny, and now she would fight for it. Agnes took a deep breath and walked through the doorway of uncertainty, stepping boldly into the light of her own emerging destiny. She prepared to embrace the challenges that awaited, a spark ignited within her. This was the moment where fear met resolve and power met purpose. The shadows would return, but she was determined now she would shine brightly, regardless. And perhaps, just perhaps, she could draw others from the darkness alongside her. Before she stepped into the unknown, She could almost hear a thread of light weaving itself into the very fabric of her existence. And in that moment, a new chapter began to write itself, filled with hope and promise inside the intricate dance of light and shadow. Now I need you to listen closely. You need to subscribe now, so you won't miss the next exclusive stories that are sure to take your breath away. Smash that like button now. I know you love it. Let us feed the algorithm together. Every click matters. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Agnes's bold journey into the light. What do you think will happen next? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Let us rally together and keep exploring the incredible universe of stories.